Hello, welcome. Today's session will be about heads. Uh, well, hence the GIF. So head, right? So we'll be discussing heads in a simplified format today. We don't have enough time to give heads the full, in detailed treatment that they deserve. So I will not be discussing how to properly draw every single form. I'll give everyone a light overview of proportion and things to keep in mind, and how to sort of landmark the head from different angles, which involves perspective and foreshortening. So that will be the objective of today's session. Whether I hold by all of that, we'll see. But let's switch over to class. Hello. Actually, hold on. Let's get rid of that GIF for a second. All right. So today, we have a homework review. Someone submitted for the homework today. Pretty awesome. We've got a submission from Latvarian B. Latvarian B decided to do the exercises today, or either last night. So let's take a look at this. Let's review it. Let's see how well he did. Once again, at Latvarian B on Blue Sky. So, let's see. Oh, pretty all right job with this form. Good shape to follow. We're keeping in mind for the ankle bones, the inner bones are the higher one. I like this grouping of the toes. Pretty all right. I like breaking this down a bit, seeing where each individual toe has motion. Pretty good. I'm not sure if this is an imagined ankle or not. Latvarian B is not present for today, unfortunately. But this makes for some interest. If this is true, if this is actually occurring in real life, that's quite an interesting twist present in the heads. I like this. Good capture of how this foot it angles. I like this subtle curve going across there. Nice attention to the arch. And just nice. It's good to be able to pay attention. Can we group our toes together as such? I like this. I like this method because when you see with toes, toes in certain aspects tend to look like a tube with an ellipse on it, with an orb on it. I don't believe this to be an incorrect way to interpret it, and it works well for capturing the gesture. So I like that. And again, following an arch. It's good that you're identifying where this arch is with how the toes move. I'd love to have gotten Latvarian B's feedback, but I don't believe he'll be able to be present for today's stream, unfortunately. But I like this. I like this finding where the plane sort of cuts off. It's a little bit awkward because the foot itself, it's not exactly an even divide between it just goes like that. It's not a shoe. It's a bit rounded. There is a bit of a roundness, but this isn't bad in terms of finding where that bottom plane is. I like that. Again, I like this. I like that this isn't just imagining the toes. They're not all curling. This is actually pulled up. And there is individuality in each toe expressed. So I like that. And as for his structure, as for the structure of how he did it, I like this. Good. Thinking about this hinge that all the toes sit on. I like this attention to the planes of the toes. And I like that you're keeping in mind all three phalanges, all three segments of the toes. I can't help but feel that maybe this is all a little too aligned. Maybe this is true of the original photo, but because we went through great lengths to explain that toes generally tend to dip in this arch, with the pinky toe especially tending to be shorter. But real people vary. Real people vary a lot. So who knows? Maybe that is how this person looks. But I also like this attention to this arch. I don't remember exactly what it's called. It's been a few days, and I didn't think about the terminology. But I'm glad that you're paying attention, that this is an area where you can express some form. So, pretty good. Pretty good, pretty good. As for this, pretty good. Maybe we could have done with a little more detail, a little more attention to how the muscles follow through on the form here. I would have liked to see an indication of the heel bone. I can't help but feel maybe the pads look a little too big, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just because there just isn't enough definition, so it feels a little bit off to me to have this much empty space, but maybe this is accurate, actually. Important when we're studying form, we have to see how these connect. It's not enough to just leave a straight line across. We might be looking up at this foot. That may be the case, but I want to, especially since the toe is curling forward like this, we gotta know how this properly connects to the foot. And if our horizon line is right here, or somehow curving like this, that's the only way. That is the only time in which we do not see a top or bottom plane. In this case, I feel like we're probably not seeing... The bottom plane is probably somewhere over here, or it might be very, very thin, just behind. But we still want to try and indicate that when we're doing form drawings. So this is why we draw light. We draw with lower opacities if we're drawing in digital. This was clearly done in digital. But as for this one, I like this attention to the arch. Don't remember which arch this specifically is, but it's I believe this is the higher one, in which the arch is a lot more prominent. Good attention to that motion, and I like this one. I like that you paid attention to how the leg wrenches in to the socket right there, into this joint. So pretty nice. Overall, good sense for rhythm, good sense for motion. And I think you're picking up forms that will help you in your drawings. So this one especially, ooh, I like this one. This one especially feels true to reality. Can't really tell if I don't have the pictures, but we do have, generally speaking, the three middle toes. They come together in a good rhythm, and then your pinky toe is the outlier, just a bit. So this is good. This is a good study. Definitely do a bit more if you feel that you need to. I will definitely need to at some point. So we're keeping the review just a bit short. This is the only submission we've got, I believe. I don't believe I saw anyone submit anything, so that's perfectly fine. Okay, never mind. Sorry, I was testing the audio levels to see if the clacking of the keyboard was able to be perceived. Hold on. Filters, noise suppression. Okay, I did set it to the higher CPU usage noise filter. Tell me how loud that is. Tell me if that was like a really loud clattering for my keyboard. Let's read chat. Good morning, chat. Excited to learn about head today. And his feet. Oh yeah, that's true. This was feedback. I see. I was looking at that comment for like 4 minutes as I was rambling on. Me in the uke plane. Goodness gracious. Oh my gosh. First time chat. Hello, do you have any recommendations getting references for the feet? Hello. So when it comes to references for the feed, it really is dependent. There is yourself, if you really needed to. Get like you can get, pardon me, a selfie stick to take pictures of your feet from more extreme angles that you can't achieve more naturally. If you are looking just to study feet, what we were doing last week. I'm contemplating if we do it again this week. Let me get my window capture out. All right. What we did last week, we went to lineofaction.com. That's line-of-action.com. Hold on. I don't know if my bookmarks. And you'll see on this website, there's a lot of ways you can practice different forms of gesture or different forms of just fundamentals to learn from. In this case, went to hands and feet drawing. You can do live gesture drawing. It won't exactly, pardon me, that was my work email. You won't like, these are for practice, so you're not going to find the most perfect feet for every single instance that you need it for. It really is context dependent. Line of Action has feet pics? Yes, it does actually. Crazy, right? They aren't the prettiest feet. They're kind of dirty. For some reason, they get their models to stand on the dirtiest studio floor ever. But it is there. You just, from the front page, hands and feet drawing. You can do hands and feet practice drawing. So were you looking for references for your own drawings or references to practice? Wash your feet and take pics of your own. Easy. Very true. Truing. Because really, you're your best model. You are your best model for most things. Pardon me. Gulpy sounds. But when it otherwise too much work, I'm lazy. Resident sleeper. Well, that is one way to do it. First time chatter. Riv fetish stream. No! It's not! No! We're practicing things! We gotta learn! I might do a quick set of gesture drawings in regards to the feet, just for practice sake. I'm gonna force everyone to work alongside me. While we do just one other quick refresher on feet, give ourselves a little bit more practice while we're in an environment where I force people to practice. But if you're trying to find references for your drawings, you can't. You're eating chicken Alfredo. Well, screw me, I guess. I'm trying not to curse, but that sounded worse, honestly. F me, I guess. But if you're trying to find feet pictures for reference in your drawings, there's honestly, it really depends. There's a lot of context involved with seeking references in your drawings, I've learned. It's contextual. So, like, were you trying to learn to draw let me make a new document. Were you trying to do a pose in which the feet are accentuated? If that's the case, there really is no better reference for a foot than yourself, or, as someone in chat pointed out, asking someone you like to model for you. That is absolutely a possibility. There was a whole lecture on feet that I did on Monday. It's available on the VODs channel, youtube.com/@rivwriterart. It is also available on the VODs, not edited together, but it is there in the Twitch VODs for now. Definitely not a weird thing to ask someone. Yeah, I took a second. I was like, wait, ask someone you like you like? You're trying to get their feet pics? Goodness gracious. But yeah, no. Feet for W Riz. Yeah, no. Getting references for feet, it's a bit hard because it's very contextual. If you're just looking to practice feet in general, then I don't know what else to tell you. Dating someone just so you can use them as an art reference. Crazy. They only like me for my figure. Not even in a sexual way. Who's there? Someone's knocking at my door. I apologize. I'm going to run a maybe 15 minutes foot gesture session. I'll do like minute foots rather than the high pace 30-second feet I was making people draw these last two sessions. But I'll be right back and attend to something around the house. Ah. Oh, I'm back. You have to pardon me if my voice is a little hoarse because I had tabletop today. The tabletop session ran longer than I expected. My voice is a little bit hoarse. The character that I play is a fucking gremlin. Um, so sometimes she's kind of a menace, and then when I get in character, I kind of change my voice just a little bit. To play her. Then we jump back into the stream for today, and I'm like, oh gosh, I have to talk some more. It concludes. Our tabletop session concluded an hour and a half ago, so not a lot of time to rest my voice. But we're gonna go into it today. We're gonna do our feet drawing. Feet. Do 60-second intervals. We'll do this for about 15 minutes. Just so we can warm up those drawing hands, and then I will discuss. Run to my sources. Then I will discuss the head in proportion and skulls. Because skulls are, it's important to discuss skulls in regards to how things on the body fit together, things on the face fit together. So, feet, gesture, drawing, review. Let's full screen and let's get rolling. Join us if you can, or don't. Entirely up to you. So I'm gonna get into it. I will show off my process as I usually do. If you need it larger, do tell. Do not obligate yourself to draw both feet. Only do that if you have the time for it. So let me review what we went over about feet. Last time, when I'm seeking the gesture of a foot, we're typically looking for the longest part that is visible, and where the contrasting part is, which is usually the heel. We can group the toes together, typically as a big toe versus the smaller toes. I might cut this off at like 10 to do two structured feet drawing actually. So that's one thing to do. In regards to structure, you keep in mind that the heel protrudes a little bit from the back of the foot, and that there's this bone right there. The structure of our feet, our legs, is such that it's sort of like a wrench that locks in to the ball joint that is the top of the leg, or rather the bottom of the foot. This is because these are two separate bones of your body that lock in together to make that. It took 30 more seconds. When we're drawing more gesture, once again, seek the longest part. Sometimes the longest part might be the heel, that might be the bottom of the foot. And we can follow a sort of staircase gesture when it comes to feet. When it comes to toes, rather. Toes, even when they stick up, we do a little bit of this to identify bottom plane. Toes have a step-like quality to them. When we draw feet, we look for the parts that move the most. On the foot, you can kind of roughly, who the heck? I'm ignoring that. You can kind of see that there's from the top, there are two sections on the top plane, which sort of stick out. You might be able to tell from there. But roughly speaking, these two sections, three sections rather, they kind of correspond to the pinky toe, the big toe, and then the toes in the middle. Not every person has a toe. Toes are a little funny, actually. The individual differences between toes in people are very funny because some people have their index toe or whatever longer than their big toe. Some people have their big toe longer than their index toe, their pointer toe, whichever sounds correct to you. But it's funny. That. Seek some. You can see this kind of tendon right here, which is more like the tarsal. The tarsal. The tarsal is kind of visible. In regard to the structure of the feet, I'll wait till it boils over to the next one. And then I'll talk about the structure. All right. On the next one, did we do this? We already did this. We have a really limited selection of feet to study from, unfortunately. I don't know where else you could get more, but there's definitely feet pick databases out there because this is the internet. You can turn an innocuous collection into something perverted, or you can turn a perverted collection innocuous. Kind of hard, but in this case, you can totally pull it off with feet. But anyway, the structure of the feet goes something to the tune of this kind of shape for the heel. You've got a pyramid that stretches out this a ways. I believe there's a section of bones right here, and from here, metatarsals stick out into the major phalanges of the toe. And that's 5 of them. These are not very flexible, but they are responsible for movement through. Well, they are responsible for connecting to your toes, where more movement does occur. And the toes themselves, let's see. That muscle travels in an interesting way through there. Kind of does this. Does this with it. So that's some interesting overlap visible through the muscles. But the toes themselves, they share sort of, not share, but they have a step-like quality. I mentioned that. I keep trying to mention it. And despite the fact that I am drawing toes with about 2 phalanges, they do actually possess 3. Except for the big toe, which like your thumb, only has 2 phalanges. But your toe does have 3. There's not a very concrete way to proportion them in comparison to the hands, fortunately. Because the proportions of feet are very awkward. Roughly speaking, your foot can be divided into thirds, but those thirds are not very precise, I will say. And that's about all I can really say on the matter at the moment, until I draw the rest of this foot. And please note, the pinky toe is kind of bending inwards. It's kind of resting on its side through there. But the rough shape of it, when you break it down into thirds, and this is in perspective, it goes kind of like this. It doesn't wrap all the way to the edge of this sort of box. It's supposed to be a box, by the way. Interesting. But it really doesn't cut apart very evenly. It's mostly that middle section of the foot that sticks out a little both ways, and then your toes cover even more structure-wise. Another thing that tends to make feet really, really difficult to study, or at least comprehend, from a beginner's perspective, or when you're studying a foot from reference, is that feet are designed to spring. Feet are designed to absorb impact. So they take on a variety of different shapes depending on how much force is exerted on them. In this case, you can see right there in the back, all of the weight is being pressed onto the heel, therefore, and the skin is being stretched tight through those toes. It's the gross reference again. Um, but yes, feet will squish, compress, and decompress, depending on how much force is exerted upon them. You can find sort of rhythm through the foot. If you are eating, if you're the person who is eating, maybe it was best not to look at the stream while we were drawing feet that could be especially gross and dirty. Um, I didn't really get a chance to discuss muscles in the foot last time, and I'm still not. I don't really have the time for that. But something of specific note, I don't remember the terms, but a lot of weight tends to sit on the, I believe it was the outer end of the foot, while the inner end is for balance sake. And this is our last foot for gesture drawing. But keep that in mind. You see more of an arch on the inner side because the yeah, our food eater responded. You see more of an arch on the inside because the arch is just, this is here for balance, while the actual task of balancing, of like sitting on gravity and dispersing weight, goes to the outer side, which is why the outer side was so much more grody compared to the inner side of the last foot that we saw. I need people who come to these modeling sessions, and it's again not to knock the free resource, but I need them to specifically tell their models, go wash your dang feet, and then give them a rug to sit on. Make them clip their toes. I don't clip their toenails. I don't know, man. I don't want to look at it. Um, we'll do 2 minute, 2 2 minute structure drawings. Just for the sake of getting a little bit of structure in. Go, 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 go. But we can look at a foot. We can use this trapezoidal shape, which can be three-dimensional depending on how you're looking at a foot. It might be about this ways, because this plane, this triangle, this slope that I like to use, that is also a bit of a trapezoid, extends out this way. But the gesture of the foot, even though it looks like it's sitting flat, there is an arch to the toes as they go up and then down. This is the natural sort of curve they take. And you'll notice, especially in that pinky toe, it's curling inwards. They, just like the fingers, when their tendency to curl towards a center point, it's most visible in the pinky, that the toes kind of curl inwards towards the big toe. There is this bit of a curve present through the mid, not through the mid, but through the base of the toes. And they all will align there. And just like the feet, just like the hands, there is a natural curve that the toes subsequently follow. Each toe, unlike the fingers, each toe is in fact shorter than the other. There's no real accounting for how long they should look, etc., etc. We usually preach the concept of an average. That way, you know how to change the average. But toes, feet, it's really hard. Personally, and maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I'm not a big advocate for feet. I don't really like to look at it. But feet vary a lot, a lot, a lot. I'm gonna do the other foot because we've already done this photo for structure. But I remember the story I read on Tumblr before. It was about it was a portrait, I suppose, a full body painting that the painter had done of their partner. And they had got knocked a few points from winning, I believe. or they did win, but they were told to. By the way, you can make this um, ankle a diamond shape, and that would work. But they lost. No, sorry, they did win, but the critiques they received were that the feet that they had drawn did not feel accurate. They felt too made up. Um, and in response to that, the artist called their partner up and they said, can you show them your feet?" And they showed them, and they showed the, I don't want to say deformities, but they showed just the way their foot was shaped, and they were just like, oh, we were wrong. Oh, we were so wrong. People can be so different. And that's how I feel about feet. People can be so different. It's hard to pin an average down that you can follow, but there is still a set of general proportions that you can follow for drawing feet. Um, because the other part of drawing from life, drawing figure drawings, is you got to build your observation. You got to be able to be a little bit real with yourself and tell yourself, am I drawing this accurately? Am I making something up? Am I jumping forward in my understanding of what I'm looking at? And in this case, I will be real. I'll pause the timer, and you just go for another 10 seconds. Looking at what I have drawn versus what I'm seeing at the model, I can see a really stark difference. If I just use a sighting method, like making a triangle, making a right angle, I can see that from the point where the arch of the, not the arch, but from this point where the toes, this part of the foot, meets the floor, and the heel, it's too wide. It's too tall. I made something up. So you have to be real with yourself about your observational skills. When you tackle from life models, very, very important to do so. Be honest with yourselves, and that's how you will grow. So that's it for our review of the foot. I decided to do another review because we're not really spending a lot of time on it, and I wanted to properly express just a few more things and make sure we all are on the same track. And just one more thing about sighting. My foot is definitely too short. I have yet to fully internalize the proportions of a foot. So it's definitely a lot shorter than it should be, according to these. So just keep that in mind as you continue to practice from life drawings, including feet, including practicing feet. Um, if you're going to draw body parts with a lot of focus on them, you need a real model. Um, Otherwise, if for whatever reason you needed to draw a foot in extreme focus, it's just going to look off. If you just completely make up every aspect of that foot, you got to reference from real life, you got to cite from real life. Even if you are doing a drawing that's mostly from imagination, it's going to look off if you only try to build off of your imagination. You cannot put a patty on a bun with lettuce, cheese, tomatoes, onions, ketchup, mustard, pickles, lettuce, top bun in that order. No matter how easy I might make it look, that is not how this works. It's all very contextual. You got to figure out what you need to be in focus. You got to figure out what it has to be doing. And you need real life examples to understand what you're drawing. So, that's my ramble. That's so many steps. Apparently, at times, even with the reference, it can look off. Yes, this has to do with citing, and it has to do with unity in what you are drawing. So that's not exactly the focus of today's session. Next week, I'd like to talk a bit more about drawing from imagination, as well as wrapping up everything we have been learning for these last 6 weeks. This is the 5th week. Next week will be the last week, and then I will go on to be a normal streamer. And then sometimes I will still be open for feedback from other people regarding, well, giving feedback regarding how people are growing if they so desire. If you so desire. What am I thinking? So, does anyone have any remaining questions about feet, or how they can relate feet to whatever they draw in life, whatever they need to know? Any remaining questions about how they work? Sir, no, sir. You're just saying that so I don't have to keep talking about feet. Ugh. Pardon me. Pardon me. My throat is sore. My throat is hoarse. All right, no questions. Let's get into the next section here. Today's lesson, head proportion. So, I'm going to break down for you the Loomis method. Ah! We hate the Loomis method! Ah! It's okay. You might dislike it. You might dislike the Andrew Loomis head method of finding proportions for a head. You might disagree with its concept of an average. However, to me, I believe there's a lot to glean from this method. And I do believe, I honestly, earnestly believe, you can learn to draw any type of head shape that you want just by understanding and having an ideal average and then being able to warp it based on who you're looking at. So let's talk heads. Head proportion. We touched on this super lightly at the beginning of not the beginning, but when we started to learn the full figure, I touched on it super, super lightly. We can use heads. Pardon me, I'm ghosting. I'm drawing a circle. Close enough. No, I don't like that. I don't like that head. Not bad. Not bad. All right. We can use a circle to represent the cranium. And this is responsible for a majority of our sighting. And what I'm going to do from here to understand proportion, we need to draw the side of the head, the flat side of the head. And this circle, this flat side of the cranium, is about 2/3 the length of the entire head. So how the heck do I sight 2/3 the height of the head? The answer to that is you take the full length of the cranium, you chop it into thirds. You really do. So like about here-ish. This is something you just generally learn to interpret. Visually, you have to pick up on it. You have to do a lot of practice to be able to understand it. But roughly that length corresponds to, I about got it. The full length of this circle. And again, it's a circle, so it's the same length across the entire side. So from here, we can draw a line through the middle. This represents the brow line. Draw another circle or another line through the vertical center. This represents the jawline. You can use circles to represent the cranium and a box shape to represent the jaw. Not everyone has a boxy jaw, but it's the starting point for which you can learn to draw the head. We'll use this boxy shape. You can do this with it. It comes at a slight slant. Or you can choose to interpret it like this if you really, really want. But really, it comes out a bit longer than that because the face itself divides in 2/3 format. So from about here to here, this top line represents the hairline. And then from here to here, this is the bottom of the nose. And then the ear comes to here. It actually comes a bit below. It starts a little bit below. and meets the top of the brow line. And so now we've got our 2/3 method. Here's the first third, that is your forehead. The second third, that is about your nose. And now another third would represent your jaw. You can use this receding line to represent the jaw, or you can use, again, you can just make a box with a super slight slant. And we're discussing it in super layman terms. The skull itself, in reality, it might be a little bit longer than this. It's not technically a perfect circle. The various shapes of your head actually extend a little bit further to be, I think it was about half a cranium length out. I could be wrong, but I don't want to confuse the waters a little too much. We'll just leave it on. You can use this sort of shape, and it's not perfectly circular, because your neck's got to come in. Your neck comes in, connects sort of like this. So we leave it here. We chop off a little bit to allow the neck to come in. The neck comes in with an arch shape to the cranium. I have to keep saying the cranium, because it does not connect to the skull. The skull itself is comprised of the jaw and the circular part that is housing your brain. Really bad brain, but that's why it works. Chat says most people don't have ears, so you don't draw them. Most people don't have ears? What? I can't hear you! I don't have ears! And similar to fingers, how much skin you draw here, it's like webbing. It is like webbing. You gotta pay attention to it on a person-to-person basis. One final thing. The mask doesn't have ear holes, it's true. I can't hear a single thing. I'm actually perceiving everybody through vibrations in the ground. How am I perceiving vibrations through a computer monitor? I'm magic. That's why. Anyway, here's a super basic side plane view. Let's look at this from the front now. Same basic idea. Ghosting, circle. Nope. Ghosting, circle. Yeah, that's good enough. From the side plane, we have to cut off the sides again. And this time, this is how these go. And this side will help me supplement the receiving vibration. Sounds a lot like hearing. No, it's different. Believe me. Trust. It's totally different. We're gonna draw the sides. Chopped off sides right here. This view of the head will continue to evolve. I will continue to talk about different aspects of it. I think I feel something off. I feel something significantly off. I do feel this should extend out a bit more than this. Just a bit more than that. It doesn't perfectly align to the, just where the edge of where the forehead is. This is where your whole forehead is. So I'm just gonna extend it like that for my sake. But anyway, like I said, we'll send a line down through the middle. Once again, brow line. We draw another line here at the top, and the way we find the side of the head, we'll just draw a vertical line. About I can't remember exactly how this how to find the proportion of this. I apologize. I'll link videos you can look up later regarding these proportions. But as far as giving the rough estimate, create about this kind of length out. This is something that I'm just naturally able to perceive at this point. So I apologize that I can't describe it more succinctly than give it about this much length. Give it about this much length out from the side to cut it off the side. Yes, horizontal line. This is the hairline. This is the brow line. We find another line through here. bottom of the nose. And then we have our third system. 1, 2, 3, jaw. And this is highly dependent on person-to-person basis. But you can draw your chin about that long. I'm sorry, there really is no other way for me to say draw the chin about that length. Drop your jaw coming out this way a bit. There we go. And within this third method, this is how you can just cut this in half. At the very bottom of this cranium, where closed mouth would be. I'll just draw some simple shapes. Nose. Brow. Let's draw more detail than that. If you ever watched Dragon Ball Super Saiyan 3, this is the brow. The brow line is super exaggerated in there, but that's where it goes. Your eyes, then in the middle of this third, a line about there. There's some lips. And then, how do you find the front plane of the face from here? Surely all of this is not just simply flat. No, it's not. From the corner of the chin, I believe it goes, you draw a sort of arch. It has to be an arch. You have to consider it an arch. From, I want to say, here to the brow line, up to the top. And this is the jaw. This is the rough front plane of the head. And we'll mimic this over here. This goes about to here. There's your front plane. Doesn't seem right. It might not seem right, but that's how it goes. And the neck is actually much wider than you think it is. Sometimes it's a bit thinner, but typically your neck, and I might have drawn this whole thing a little wide, a little bit on the wide side, but necks generally line up with your whole head. Excuse me, my mouth's getting dry. He looks like a Pillarman. Well, you see, a lot of JoJo is based on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is based on these sort of ideals. So everyone looks really chiseled on purpose. And you believe your cheeks are like right around there. I might be having it a little bit wrong about exactly where the front plane ends. We might run through those Proco videos as well just to confirm what I know, whether I'm actually correct, whether I'm smart and awesome and whatnot. But let's take these proportions and draw them 3/4. I can do a little bit better. Ghosting. Yeah, good enough. No, not good enough. Not good enough, Gary. Not good enough. So from here, once again, we're going to draw the side plane cut off, but this time it's a bit of an oval because it is representing flatness. It is going in perspective to where we are looking. We'll find the horizontal middle. We'll find, we'll create a contour that wraps around the front of the face in order to find our thirding method. And then from here, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. The vertical middle line is not necessarily the middle of the skull, by the way. It more represents the middle of the front plane. Excuse me. And the front plane itself may be a little bit on the flat side. And we'll represent our jaw with this box shape. Draw a vertical line through the middle of the side plane here. And typically, I like to do it from I like to start from roughly where the cranium ends and connect those. And as you can see, my vertical middle for the front plane is a little bit off. Things like this, they make a bit more sense in a 3/4 angle. And this is a super simplified appearance to the head. These are idealized proportions that work to set the standard for how a face is proportioned. Chatter says, it looks correct to me. Studied proportion a lot in high school, but the main thing I reference is just placing the eyes halfway between the bottom of the jaw and the top of the head. Halfway between the bottom of the jaw and the top of the head. Let's see. No, that's not incorrect. I don't think that's incorrect. Same. Yep. Yeah. No, that's about right. So this is the more advanced. This, like I said, this is the Loomis method of finding proportions to the head. This is like the more realistic head shape. And I almost forgot. The ear, it begins a little just below the brow line. It lines with the brow, and then goes to the bottom of the nose. I do think I drew my head a little bit on the wide side. But yes, a lot of people who have been self-taught or were taught, in more simple ways, not necessarily saying this is incorrect. Just keep dividing in half eyes. Sorry, I just keep dividing one half eyes, 1/4 nose, 1/16 mouth. This is true. That is a completely valid way of doing it. I'm discussing the Andrew Loomis method because, again, the workshop is aimed at people who might not have been drawing for very long or just want some sort of deeper understanding of proportion. So I'll talk about that simpler method after this. But let me just finish drawing in. So once again, once you've got your brow lines, I believe this was supposed to represent the side plane for your head. Sometimes it's over here, but I believe it's more accurate to put it over here. Always good to brush up on proportions. It's true. In the process of doing this whole workshop, I've had to refine a lot of my proportions, or at least rediscover what I'm doing differently and whatnot. I mentioned this in a previous session. Hold on, let me get another image. Let me get something I showed on screen before, just to compare proportions' sake. This is an image. I showed this in a previous stream. Of my OC Shizuka. One look at her, you can tell the proportions are off. They're stylized on purpose. I knew what I was doing. To an extent, I've been breaking the rules forever. But if we were to measure her whole dang skull, I'll measure it with a rectangle. If we were to do this, and we were using the ideal method that we've been learning about, 1, 2, 3, and I believe she's supposed to be 4 heads tall. She's supposed to be her whole torso, her whole upper body is supposed to be 4 heads tall if we're going by the ideal 4-head method. 7.5 head method. And then the proportions would have ideally restarted halfway down. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if her proportions were working in the idealized form, then that'd be about where she stands. But I did mess with the proportions to achieve a slightly cuter look. And let's not talk about her head to shoulder ratio. This one was actually kind of fucked. Kind of messed up there. Very generous with the half head there. Yeah, it's a little off. But yeah, you learn proportion, and then you break the rules very, very liberally when you know what you're doing and you have a purpose to it. In this case, I like to draw cute, so I draw with a bigger head than most of her stuff. Most parts of her body. I did have a phase where I was fresh out of figure drawing. I was trying to apply proportionate anatomy to everything I was doing, but I wasn't having a lot of, well, rather, everyone was turning out in a way I didn't want. I had too many figures turning out like too realistic, and it was clashing with the cartoony anime aesthetic I wanted to give them. Um, so I tinkered with the proportions to be at a place that I was happy with. Um, but here we are again. We're reviewing realism in what we do, so that we are stronger artists. We learn how to do things with intentionality. Anyway, the mouth is about halfway through this third. The eyes are set about halfway through this third. Features of the face would extend out from this one here. There is plenty of volume to a face, and a lot of it is highly dependent on what a person looks like. People have fuller lips than others. Other people have more sunken jaws than others. It really, really, really depends on the person you're looking at. So that's actually about there. It's about where the eyes line up. This is about where the mouth lines up. Once again, we learn these methods. We learn this form of proportions so that you give yourself an average to work with, so that you understand how these things divide out, so that we have a baseline standard for what to work with when we go to draw other people, because then we'll be able to know what's off, what am I doing, what do I need to do differently, so on and so forth. So this is the proportions as these are proportions as I understand them. In summary, take a circle. Cut off the sides. Draw half a circle, but not a full circle, more like an oval, because it twists around the side a little differently. Maybe it looks wide because I didn't draw the circle wide enough. We'll double check with the Procure resource to tell. But make a circle. We'll find the top ends of this, and then we'll cut that in half. This line represents roughly the hairline. This line represents roughly the brow line. This line roughly represents the bottom of the nose. And once we have all of those sighted, 1, 2, 3, we just draw another third down to locate the jaw. From there, we can find roughly where our chin needs to be. It depends, person to person. Take the point from the chin. Draw a curve. I think it goes something like this. I can't remember if it goes a bit more like into the edge here, or if it goes into the inner side. I feel like I get a different form of head, but it's one or the other. And then about halfway through here, halfway through this third, is where the closed mouth can be. Halfway through here. All right, let's take this one step at a time. When we find the next halves between these two thirds, these represent the closed mouth, the center of the eyes. Oh, that's an awful. That looks awful. That looks scary. We'll discuss a bit more proportion soon. Trust. bottom of the nose. Proportions might still seem a bit off. It happens. I'm a bit rusty with how it all should look as well. My instinct says to do this with it. But my proportions might be a bit off. And your ears will align to the top of the brow with the bottom of the nose. And that's roughly how I understand the Loomis head method. Other people, let me merge all these together. Other people have said that they've learned generally you find the halfway point of the head, or you just keep cutting that in half. Let me look back here. Divide half for the eyes, 1/4 for the nose, and 1/16 for the mouth. Yeah, I can't argue with this method of figuring out how to draw someone. It's a much simpler method of understanding how proportions kind of, and if you're using the center line as the eyes, do that for the ear, and then you understand that the ear aligns with the eyebrows, so they would do that. Do that. So once again, not an invalid way of doing things. You're a little bit off, but the method of using the eyes as the halfway point of the head, then you match everything around that instead. Not incorrect. Perfectly fine to use. More cranium in the back than you think there is. But this is the method that you can use on most anything, and then you modify it based on reality. So, is there any questions about the Loomis head before I proceed to play the video on Loomis head? Just everything else on it. I just like having supplemental learning material, especially for stuff that is a bit harder to explain in one go. No, but good circles. Thank you. I try. It's important to ghost before you commit to a drawing, which is just hovering your pen in place, your hand, just prepping which line you're gonna draw before you commit to it. That's how you do it. So we'll play these videos. They'll take about 12 minutes ish to get through. And then I'll talk about the head in different. Well, I'll just let the video keep playing through about the head in different angles, and I'll just let it. We'll see. I can already see from the preview I might have gotten it wrong about how the jawline works, and I'll adjust what I've drawn to match that. But let's open this up. Once again, the main reason I put up these don't look at that. Don't look at my subscriptions. The main reason I provide these additional resources, the main reason why I even put these videos on at all, is because I want people to know these are more resources that they can tap into. If you're learning from me, you're learning from this guy. This is the actual master. And hopefully my methods make sense after you watch these things. Or, yeah, I hope my methods make sense afterwards, because this is how I choose to understand the world. Let's get to it. trick video.
Hey there! My name is Stan Prokopenko. I'm going to be doing a series of video tutorials on drawing the head from various angles. Hopefully there will be some interest and I can continue making more of these for you guys. In this first video, I'm going to attempt to summarize and simplify Andrew Loomis's approach to drawing the head. Here we go. If we remove the ear, lips, eyes, and nose from the head, we're left with two simple masses. The first is a ball for the cranium, and the second is a boxy shape for the jaw. The cranium is spherical, but with the sides flattened, so chopping off a slice from both sides of that ball gets us a simplified but close representation of the cranial mass. When drawing the head, I'll start with the circle for the ball. And after a few failed attempts, rip out your hair, take a deep breath, and try again. But seriously, make sure that it looks like a circle and at least the height and width are the same. The oval is a bit more tricky. The height will always be the same no matter what angle you're drawing the head from. It's 2/3 the height of the circle. So I'll usually look at the area from the center of the circle to the top and divide that into thirds, and the top third will be where the oval begins. And the same for the bottom. The width of the oval depends on the direction the person is looking. Compare the width of the front plane to the width of the side plane. The top portion of the oval falls on the corner of the forehead. This is where the front plane meets the side plane. This area is usually rounded, so it's open to the artist's interpretation, but I've found that it usually lies near the end of the eyebrow. So as I just showed, we indicate the left and right turn of the head by the width of the oval. Now we need to find the up and down tilt. This is indicated by an angle along the side plane. If the head is tilted up, the angle will point up, and if the head is tilted down, the angle will point down. The degree of the tilt will determine how steep to make this line. I like to use the angle from the ear to the brow. From there, I'll continue that line over to the front plane, and since this line represents the brow, pay attention to the angle from one brow to the other. Then draw a curve parallel to the first one, this time starting from the bottom of the oval. This represents the bottom of the nose. Drawing the same line again from the top of the oval would bring you to the hairline. Now, since the face can be broken down into nearly perfect thirds, from chin to nose to brow to hair, we can use the measurements we already found to find the length down to the chin. Observe the general shape of the jaw and draw on the major angles, starting from the brow, coming down to the chin, and going around to the side plane of the head. It's usually about halfway into the oval, or a little bit further back. We've already found the side plane of the cranium. Now we need to do the same thing with the cheek and jaw area. There's a rhythm that starts at the top of the ear and curves down to the outside.
That's the part I got wrong. It goes something like this. The side plane goes a little bit longer than I was expecting. Might have been drawing the brow ridge a little bit differently than I was supposed to. But just keep that in mind.
Side of the chin. Then find the center line of the face. Remember, this is the center of the front plane, not the center of the whole head width. And finish with the neck. Now that we have the foundation of the head established, we can finish it by putting in all the features. Eyes, nose, lips, ear, hair, jaw, cheeks, chin.
Patty with bun, lettuce, tomatoes, ketchup, cheese.
Don't worry, I'll explain this step in more detail in another video. Each feature deserves its own tutorial. This approach is really good to establish the perspective of the head. A good exercise is to try to think about the head as a simple, elongated box. The angles on the front plane of the face, such as hairline, brow line, nostrils, lips, and chin, will be the same as the angles on the front plane of the box. The angle from the brow line to the ear is the same as the angle on the side plane of the box. These angles are really important because they establish the head as a three-dimensional form in space. Let's go through that one more time. Start with a circle for the cranium, oval for the side plane of the head, angle to show the person is looking up or down, draw an identical curve to find the nose, and double that distance to find the chin. Attach the jaw and you have a three-dimensional representation of the head, ready for the features. At first, this approach might seem a bit technical with a lot of important details to remember, but once you get the hang of it, it actually becomes really easy. So get that sketchbook out and practice this 100 times with very...
Yes, practice this 100 times. Do this a lot. I was holding off until the very end to discuss heads because, well, primarily, let's look again at the what I titled this workshop. It is a figure drawing workshop, but it's also a gesture drawing workshop. I wanted to focus more on how the body moves. But as a foundational sort of workshop for teaching how to draw a person, we can't skimp on the head. We got to discuss it at some point. And the head itself is home to a very, very important set of three-dimensional shapes in perspective, and understanding the proportions of the head is just very, very important to capturing full body. And that's not to say a face can't have motion or gesture either. Anything is easy when you do it a lot. Yeah, ideally. So that's how that works. Next one will be the front view.
If you haven't seen part 1, the Loomis method shows its true power in dynamic angles like the 3/4 I demonstrated in part 1. But it still works on flat angles like the front and profile. I'll start with that circle for the cranium and chop off the sides. Remember, the height of the side planes should be 2/3 of the circle. From the front, you can still see a very thin piece of each side plane, since the front of the head is thinner than the side. Now let's determine whether the person is looking up, down, or straight ahead. A good way to do this is by looking at the distance from ear to brow. If the ear is below the brow, then the person is looking up and the brow line will be above the center of the circle. And the opposite if the ears are above the brow. If they are at the same level, then the person is looking straight ahead and the brow will be in the middle of the circle. Earlier, we established the side plane as 2/3 of the circle. This is important because half of that side plane is 1/3 of the face. So we can take that distance and drop it from the brow to find the bottom of the nose, and again to find the bottom of the chin. Bring it up from the brow to the hairline. Then attach the jaw to the cranium. The sides of the jaw usually get thinner at the bottom. Establish the width of the chin and complete the jaw. Add the center line and the neck. The front view is the only angle when the center line is actually in the center of the head shape. Usually it will be further towards the direction the person is looking. The ears sit in the middle third and usually end at the outside of the original circle. I promise, after I cover all the angles, I will do videos on the features. And done. Let's do that again with a subtle down tilt. Start with the cranium, side planes, and the brow line below the center. Before we add the thirds, let's take a little side trip and explore foreshortening. Foreshortening occurs when an object appears compressed when seen from a particular viewpoint, and the effect of perspective causes distortion. This can easily be seen when looking at a flat surface like a book. When looking directly at the book, we see its full length. But if we move to a different angle, perspective distorts its length. As things go further away from us, they appear smaller. See that? That's foreshortening. Applying this concept to the face means that our perfect thirds will now be distorted. The third closest to us, in this case the forehead, will be just about the same as half of the side plane, and the two other thirds will get progressively smaller. Attach the jaw, neck, and center line. The ears are very important in this case because they help to show the down tilt. Always put them in the bottom half of the oval. And of course, the features. Did you like this video? Your friends might too.
Your friends might too, such as the people that I am instructing right frigging now. Let's get into this one. Don't swear!
In this episode, we meet our new friend, the side view. If you haven't seen part 1 or 2 of the series, click on these video links. Just like the front view, the side view is a flat angle. You're looking directly at the side plane of the head. The process is the same as 3/4 and front view, but I'd like to show you an example, just to make it even more clear. Start with the ball for the cranium and chop off the side plane. Notice that this time, the side plane is a perfect circle instead of an oval. And it's in the middle of the cranial mass because we're looking directly at it. Now let's indicate this head looking slightly upward with an angle from the ear to the brow. Make sure that this angle is in the center of the side plane, not up here or down here, right in the middle. Establishing the angle from one brow to the other is tricky, since we can only see one side. But just keep in mind that if there is a twist, the angle will follow. Also, notice that the side plane is lower on the cranium when the top of the head is pointing at you, and higher when it is pointing away. I'll go into more depth next week when we do extreme angles. For now, I'll keep it straight and make the brow horizontal. A perpendicular vertical line is helpful on the side plane. We will use it later to find the jaw. It should be close to the angle of the front plane of the face. The curvature of the front plane varies from person to person. Sometimes it will be straight, and sometimes curve out from the forehead to the chin. Also, sometimes the chin will be closer to the back of the head, or protrude out from the face. So pay attention to the angle from forehead to chin, as well as its curvature. From the bottom of the ear, draw that same angle over to the bottom of the nose. Find the hairline and chin using the rule of thirds. Now add the jaw. The cranial mass at the bottom back of the head is actually a bit higher than the perfect ball indicates, so I'll make this little correction. And then add the neck. When someone looks up, the chin goes away from the body and the back of the head gets closer, so we need to show the neck stretching in the front and pinching in the back. Okay, here's a little advice on features. From the side, it's hard to draw the features accurately just by following the contour. I like to observe as many angle relationships as possible. Brow to chin, brow to nose, nose to chin, nose to top lip to bottom lip, and so on.
No, that was
Plotting these points first makes it a lot easier. Thanks for watching. Hey, if you like this video...
Alright. If you have any questions about the basic overview of that, we really did just summarize everything I was just talking about, and then pointed out the things I was doing incorrectly. So, yeah. Any questions? Would anyone like to say anything that confirms that they got it? That makes sense, soundbite. That was you? That was the one. The chat made the sound, and it came through in the stream? Yeah. Somehow they figured out how to pay the bits necessary to set up pay the channel points, even though I haven't set it up yet to make any sounds. Crazy. All right, let's head on to the next video. This is not really much of a point in me explaining the extreme angles bit when he's already going to do that. I will just do it again myself to demonstrate.
If you haven't seen the first 3 parts of the series, click on one of these video links. In this episode, we go extreme.
I don't like that.
Extreme angles are usually challenging for people and frequently ignored by artists. But studying the extreme angles will make you better at the more common angles because you'll have a better understanding of the method. To help us visualize the extreme angles, we have a special guest. This is Lumi.
Hi!
Let's start by talking about the twist, or rotation along the z-axis. This has a few important effects on the head. First, the center line and brow line will be at an angle. Second, the side plane will go down to reveal more of the top of the head, or up to reveal more of the bottom. The ellipse that indicates the side plane will be angled perpendicular to the brow line. This is caused by the ellipse being in perspective. To get the proper angles on the front and side planes, remember that the head can be simplified into a box to visualize the perspective. You can see the same angles throughout the face as on the box. So this is what we have so far. The hard part is over. If you do that part right, adding the jaw should be fairly straightforward. Just observe the major plane changes. The third effect a twist has is on the gesture of the neck. Look for the curve. Try to avoid lollipop necks. The concept of stretch and pinch applies here too. Now, let's take a look at extreme up and down tilts along the x-axis. I always look for the degree of the tilt by observing the angle from ear to brow. Find the angle of the brows, and then the thirds. Remember what we learned in part 2 of the series about foreshortening. The thirds will get smaller as they recede from us. So in an up tilt, the bottom third will be about the same as half of the side plane, and the forehead will be fairly small. And the opposite in a down tilt. A confusing area for most people is the shape of the jaw as the head rotates up and down. During this rotation, the relationship of the corners of the jaw and the bottom of the chin will change. As a person looks up, the chin will come up and at one point be in line with the jaw, creating a boxy shape. If you keep going, the shape actually inverts and you get the opposite triangle.
So this is something I still struggle with in my illustrations when I'm drawing people. I draw anime heads. Anime heads are very, very hard to comprehend where this plane is because there's not a lot of visual reference that I have studied that tells me to do all of this, which is why we go back to realism to understand how this realistically works, and then we figure out how to break it down into simple shapes and forms. I'm still struggling with it. I'm still learning it, even after all of these years. But this is why it's all the more important. We gotta do these. We gotta do these kind of practices. I'll let it continue.
In an up tilt, you're also seeing the bottom plane of the jaw, which wraps around the cylindrical neck. This connection of the jaw to the neck is important, so try not to overlook it. As a person looks down, the jaw shape becomes more triangular because the corners of the jaw and the bottom of the chin move away from each other. Another common area of frustration is the tip of the nose. In an extreme up tilt, the tip will be unusually close to the eyes. It's so unusual that most of us feel like we need to move it down to lengthen the nose. Observe the shape of the bottom plane of the nose and compare it to the length of the entire middle third, from brow to bottom of the nose. It's important to remember that the eyes and lips are not flat on the face. They are rounded in their simplest forms. So observe the curvature of these features as they wrap around the eyeball and the tooth cylinder.
Just keep that in mind. Things you draw again, and also in extreme up tilt, Mega Man and Smash Bros. Be like, true. You ever seen your kill percent on the up tilt? Mine is crazy. But another thing when you're drawing stylized stuff, you tend to lose a bit of this three-dimensionality. At least I do, because I get a little lost in the sauce of two-dimensionality. So we got to remember, we got to practice these in more depth. This playlist has more in here. As you can see, I did not complete it, but Froco has videos has a playlist on how to draw facial features, which I will show it, but I will not actually show any of the videos. I'm just going to show you it exists after this. Yeah, there you go. These curve upwards. This curves upwards. It's following the contour of the head. And this is following how it should be covering stuff up.
So what would happen if instead of the head rotating up or down, we move the camera above or below the head? When this happens, the side plane rises or drops to reveal more of the top of the head or the bottom of the head. But this time, without changing the angle of the center line, since there is no twist. From this angle, the neck will be mostly covered by the head and we just see shoulders. That's it for this episode. Next week, we'll be covering the eyes.
We don't have the time to go extremely in depth, or at least cover the depth that I would like about these aspects without it turning into I put on the video entirely for everyone, and then we repeat it, and then we do it all again, and I just don't got the time for it. Maybe we'll cover it a bit more next week, in the next session, if time permits it, and if we seem to have any difficulties comprehending facial proportions, in our upcoming practice. And I highly encourage, if you've been skipping the practices the last few sessions, please practice head proportion. That way you can identify if there's anything you still want to learn, anything you still really want to understand. We're going to take an open poll start of next stream, whether we address these sort of things. Because I want the final session to be about drawing from imagination, and it's really cutting into time to cover more about the face. But that's about that. I will show this one. I'll just show the first head that he draws using this, just so we're all on the same page about how to use this method.
Hey guys, welcome to Proco. My name's Stan Prokopenko.
By the way, this is a 6 years ago video. Compared to those being the previous ones being like 11 years ago. 12 years ago. Goodness gracious. Yeah, this is a relatively more recent one. You can see he's a bit older in this. When you look at these view counts, there are people who figuring them out. We've got people like me here to help you understand what you're looking at. So if you have any questions about this method after you watch them go, please leave them in chat and I will answer.
It's been 6 years since I made my first Loomis head drawing video, and since then I've gotten a lot of questions regarding the Loomis method. So I think it's a good time to take a second look at it, do a bunch of quick sketches, and give you guys some tips on using the Loomis method, and that should help you get some better head drawings in quickly. This is going to be a 3-part video series. In the first video, I'll review the basics. Then in the second video, I will show you how to adapt the Loomis head onto heads of all shapes and
if that's the case, that'd be this video. But I'll just let him go through, do it the one time, and I'll go through with the first head he draws in the second video. And then no, we're not going to do the last video playlist.
And then in the third video, I'll show you a more intuitive approach using the Loomis method a little more loosely. So Loomis method, basically what we do is we have a cranial mass as a sphere, and then we attach a jaw to it with like a triangular boxy shape. That sphere cranium, we're going to chop off the side because the side of our head is kind of flat. Right, so we got to make sure we kind of chop that off. That's a flat plane. And then in a neutral pose from the middle, that's where the eyebrows are going to be. And I'm kind of wrapping this kind of like as a rubber band around the head. You'll see when we look up or down, it's not going to be a straight line like that. It'll wrap around kind of like an equator, like a rubber band. And then from the bottom of this oval, which isn't the bottom of the circle, but the bottom of this oval up here, we bring another parallel line across. That gives us the nose. We drop that down, and that gives us the chin. If this is too fast for you guys, go watch the initial series because that's where I really teach the method. This is just going to be a quick overview. From here, we attach the jaw. So from the brow, side plane, down to the chin, and then from about a vertical halfway on the side plane, that's kind of where that jaw starts. It'll be different on different people, and I'll show you guys how to change proportions, but right now I'm just drawing an average person. Actually, I made this jaw taller than the middle third, which on him it actually is. That bottom from the nose down to the chin is actually longer from the nose to the brows. But right now I'm drawing an average Loomis head. Later on I will modify the Loomis heads to fit the exact subject. There you go, there's your average Loomis head. And then from here, we gotta divide the jaw in front and side plane. So the side of the chin starts right there, and then I kind of just bring it down from the corner of the forehead.
This is why I get confused. It's kind of valid to divert your line into the center point, or you can have it go into the side of the head. Really depends on who you're looking at. He's making it idealized. But yeah, that's why I get confused. That's why I get confused so easily. It really depends on what you're looking at in regards to this front plane. What really matters at the end of the day is that you're creating a front plane. I don't think he's suggesting what the eyebrow ridge should look like, so that might be why he's just cutting it all the way to the top. But this only serves to divide front plane, side plane, and back plane of the head.
And there you go. So you got front plane, side plane. And you'll typically see core shadows or highlights along these planes, except in here where the eye socket is, and that's going to be a socket, right? So it's not, you're not going to have a corner of a plane there, which I will talk about a little more later. Basically, there's my quick sketch. This would be a complete Loomis head quick sketch. I wouldn't really go any further than that if I'm just doing quick sketch. Maybe I'll do a center line if I'm just doing a Loomis head quick sketch. Now usually I don't do Loomis head quick sketch. Usually I'll just do like, I'll go a little bit further than that and add features and some more construction lines in there. But in this lesson, I'm focusing just on Loomis heads and then maybe the occasional simple neck attachment to that. Okay, so there you go. There's a nice Loomis head. This is a nice guide to then help me put features on top of that.
And we'll proceed along to the next one.
Go darker and darker.
On this a little bit earlier, but he's gonna draw Ron Perlman. He'll explain the differences between Ron Perlman and the average ideal Loomis head.
All right, so this first one is Ron Perlman. And I think you can probably tell his jaw is much larger than the average person.
Thanos jaw.
His forehead is smaller. You can see, I mean, just look at those thirds. You try to measure from here to here, then here to here, then here to here. They're not equal thirds on him. So let's adjust those. And also his jaw is wider than average. So we'll have to just add a different shape to that cranium. So far, everything's kind of the same. Now, this is where I start to deviate.
This is also why I choose to live by the Loomis head, because craniums are typically the same. Bar a few differences, like again, he has a wider jaw, so he cut it off a little bit right here on purpose. But everyone has a similar cranium-ish. It just really comes down to where hairlines are. But most aspects of the head are unified through the cranium. So that's why I teach it.
Right in here, instead of putting it in the middle, I'm gonna kind of bring the jaw back a little bit, because he's got a wider jaw. And then I think I'm gonna put the brow ridge in the middle, kind of where it's supposed to go. And then the hairline seems to be just kind of lower on him. So that makes his forehead smaller, like right there. And then I'm gonna bring the nose line up a little bit as well, but I'm gonna make that a little bit taller than the forehead, because I see kind of a progressive enlarging of thirds. This is the shortest, then this is a little longer, and then this, the chin, is the longest. There we go. I guess right there is good. And then usually I would kind of come in and cut in like that, but on him I'm gonna drop pretty much a straight down for quite a while, all the way to here, and make that chin much wider. Same thing on this other side. Wide jaw indication.
Front plane varies, side plane varies.
Front plane, side plane really shows you how wide this chin is over here and how wide the jaw is back here. From this angle, you wouldn't usually see the corner of the jaw come out that much from the side plane. It'd be usually pretty subtle. Plus the front plane is already so wide. Okay, and we got the neck. I'm not gonna try to add the features just yet, but I feel like
we have to add this shape, this more squarish shape up at the top. Otherwise, it's not really going to look like him. And that's more caused by the hair shape, but maybe a little bit of the head as well. Maybe he's got more of a square head.
Sometimes, when you're drawing heads from life, you might be fooled by the volume of the hair. You might be convinced to, draw around the shape of the hair, but you gotta ignore it. We have these ideals, these averages on purpose. You can shape in Ron Perlman's squarish head if you want after you've settled in your initial proportions.
So changing the proportions of the Loomis head to fit the people you draw, is it going to be just about changing the relationship between the thirds? It's also going to be about changing the shapes. Is the jaw wider? Does the jaw come forward more? Is it more indented? Is the chin all the way back towards the neck? Is the forehead a little bit skinnier over here? So the side planes are a little bit tilted more. There's so many things that could happen to these forms, the way they're distorted. It's not just going to be different lengths of the thirds, but that is a good place to start. Actually, here, let me show you guys a page from, this is Fun with a Pencil, and I'm sure there's more examples of this in his Head and Hands, but I couldn't find it for some reason. I don't know where I put it. But here's a page where he's got very different jaw types, right? Like kind of a average. This one looks like he's bringing it forward from this middle line quite a bit. This one's really wide. This one's kind of straight, creating obviously very different character types. And then over here he's got square head, square jaw, more of a pointy jaw, pointy chin, still a square head, round head, really wide jaw. Lots of varieties. And here from profile, look at the differences. Look at that. These still kind of look like believable people. But look how different they could be. Chin all the way over here, or chin pointing all the way over here. Lots of variety in people. But the basic concept of round cranium with the sides chopped off and kind of a boxy pyramid-like jaw attached to it, it applies to everybody. You just have to distort these forms. When you know the average, when you're really comfortable with the average from any angle, you can look at a subject and you can instantly see how they're different from the average, because you have something to compare it to in your mind, right? You know what to look for. So even though you're usually not going to be drawing an average Loomis head when you're drawing someone from life, it's still very important to know that average Loomis head. Okay, let's do another one. This time.
We're not going to do another one. We're not going to go through that whole process again. That was pretty much everything I wanted to make sure people understand when it comes to drawing a Loomis head and then altering it. Chat says, skull shape can be different too. Very helpful to keep in mind after finishing ghosting. Yes. You really got to stare. You got to really drink in the subject that you're looking at in order to draw an accurate representation of what you got, especially when you're modifying proportions to fit different people. I'm going to go to the bathroom really quick, but when I get back, I'm going to discuss the skull, just so we can have a brief overview of the skull. I might just put on another Poco video, in all honesty. We'll see. But if you have any questions about this whole process, please tell me, and I will answer it when I get back. Yep. I'm gonna get demonetized. I'm not even monetizing my stuff anyway. Doesn't matter. Hi chat, I'm back. I think we'll just have a discussion about the skull. and stuff I want you to keep in mind while we go through stuff. I can't get striked for humming a song. You never know, man. You never know. People get dinged for covering songs whenever. I'm not gonna get struck though. um, whatever. One more thing I want to bring up in regards to the Loomis method. I do know though. I do. Sure. Anyway, one more thing I want to bring up about the Loomis method is that it primarily treats adult faces. Um, Sometimes proportions in younger faces can be different. It might not perfectly subscribe to that adult thirding method. If you were trying to draw younger people, you'll have to seek out different resources about that. One tiny thing I will say is that in general, the younger you get, the bigger your forehead appears. Um, Tom Hanks' forehead is big because of his receding hairline in this image. This is different. Children, they have smaller faces. They have smaller faces and bigger foreheads. That's my generalized knowledge, especially from like a stylized point of view. But we're going to be drawing adults in this class. Tom Hanks must be a child, true. Uh, but definitely double check on that fact. But I'm under the impression that the younger you are, the less the Loomis method generally applies, or you just exaggerate your proportions. Children all have receding hairlines. Yeah, have you seen a child recently? Yeah, really receded hairline. Is it more like as you grow older, your hairline extends? um, but let's get a picture of a skull. Skull. God. Kamen Rider double fans out there. Let's talk about the skull. This is a super generalized shape of the skull. Let's. Oh. Yeah, we can work with this one. Let's take away the window. Head back here. I did modify all of this. I don't really like this one. No, let's see. I don't think it's that good. But let's. Kids have seeding hairlines. True. So let's talk about the skull for a second. Most people most people's skulls, they come shaped a little bit like this. There's variants in between. But you see that a lot of what we were talking about regarding the head method. There's your. Let me just get the circle going. Yeah. We've got roughly the cranial mass. We see how the flat side becomes visible. We see why it's a little bit flattened, more accurately, a little bit rounded on there. We see that when we run that vertical line through it, which is also paying attention to perspective. Brow line is about there. From the bottom, we see that this principle holds true. This is the bottom of the nose, this whole cavity, that's the nose. When we take it out about another third down, the idealized jaw is like hereabouts. And then these seed backwards. Something like this. And then again, if you cut things in halves, thereabouts, that's where the eyeballs might be. Half that, mouth. Top here, this is the hairline on average. Hairline approaching. Wee wee wee. Thanks, chat. But that's how all those things come together. Important things to note when you are drawing heads. This is a cavity. The eyes, they sink into there, something like that. And even then, you're only seeing a really, really small portion of the eyes. Really, really quick tutorial about the eyes. So there's an eyeball. Your eyelids are not just 2D planes that cover your eyeballs up. They have 3 dimensions. There's a tear duct. Um, the 3 dimensionality of your eyelids are why your eyes, why you see the top of eyes shaded um, in drawings. I really want to emphasize this while I have a captive audience. I don't know if I'll be again drawing faces in huge depth, but Pac-Man eye. True! Truing? You're so true for this. It is a Pac-Man eye. But it goes something to this effect. And again, because this is a cavity, this is a recessed area that your eyeball sits in. It goes something like this. Something like this. You do not naturally have angry eye sockets. It comes in like this. Something like that. But your brow ridge extends past even that. Something like this. These are all dimensional. These are dimensional. Stick out a bit. All of that. The shadow is typically cast over, and it's not this thick. It's not this crazy thick, but it is something like that. A shadow is typically cast over this part of the eyelid. Shadows are then cast into the eye itself, and then if you are the kind of person to emphasize this, there's the eyebrow line. Get highlighted. I watched a really good PCAD video about eyes a while ago, and it reminded me of what I wasn't doing in eyes. I will link it in the VOD. No, yeah, I'll link it in the VOD and I'll put it in the Discord later. I really hope I remember to at least. I'm gonna have to scrub through this whole VOD eventually, anyway. But I just wanted to bring that up about eyes and the shape of faces. You'll remind me. Thank you. Who was gonna remind me? Good question. But that's that. Your nose. There's only one actual bone on your nose. Your nose is otherwise made up of cartilage and fat, mostly cartilage, I believe. Noses, they can come in a variety of shapes. I'm giving a really impromptu lecture about just the rest of the different shapes that I think people can stand to know about. So you've got this whole bridge. So there's the nasal bone. Here's a bridge, which is made out of cartilage. Fine. Thank you, Retro Candy Art. You're going to remind me to put the video in the description later. But here's the tip of the nose. It can sort of look like this. And then your nostrils are sort of wing. They sort of wing out and then connect to the bottom of this thing. This does not look super correct, but it kind of does look like that. Depends person to person. Does depend person to person. Pay attention to how these aspects wing around and so on. This is a little bit off. And remember, the body, your head, is a 3-dimensional shape with 3-dimensional shapes on top of it. You are not always going to see the direct other side of the face when you are drawing the face. The eye might be overlapped. Sunday saying the lip on an eyelash / eyelids are something you love to see emphasized in art. It's very stylized, stylish. True. I have a much fonder appreciation for it in the last couple of years, and I'm just like, man, I wonder how I can fit that into my art style. How do I fit that in my belief system? But thereabout is the cavity. You'll often see that the nose, I've super exaggerated the nose. It might not always look like this. It might look something more like this. Who knows? Who knows? There's that. These are different planes of the body, different planes of the face. I might assign a really specific assignment relating to mapping out the planes of the face. This looks like a tapir foot, maybe. Maybe so. We'll see. I have to hunt it down for a little bit. But just keep in mind when you're trying to draw a face, you're not always going to see the other side of the eye. You're not always going to see the other side of the eye, and you're not always going to see the perfect other side of the eye. It'll cut off somewhere. It'll do this sort of thing with it. There's a whole thing about eye shapes, what kind of eyelids tend to be visible. People who have this sort of deal going on, sometimes you'll see that lid go through. Sometimes you won't really see it at all. It just covers this area entirely, really, really thickly. Other people, you only see part of it. So just keep that in mind. Sorry, I did this all in red. It must have been very glaring. Believe me, it's 10 times glaring because I have to look at it on my super saturated computer monitor. Rather, my super saturated tablet monitor. But hopefully that all about tracks. And just one more thing I want to talk about. This turned into being let me change today's lesson really quick. This turned out to be skull and face shapes. This turned out to be about that. I didn't touch into too much detail about it. Just one more thing. Lips. There's the thing those invincible aliens are named after, the alien race. The Filtrum, I believe. Your lips. Front of your lips, of the upper lip at least, forms a heart. And then everything else, the rest of the upper lip wings out around that. In this sort of shape. It makes something like this kind of shape. I'm kind of winging it. So definitely watch more resources about this to get it totally perfect. I'm not a completely infallible source of information. And your bottom lips are actually two separate shapes that sort of pad together like this across the bottom. And when you are drawing a face, this is actually because your bottom lips, they make a hook on one person. They'll look like this. Maybe it's probably closer to this. And the mouth is closed, but it still creates this little empty space. This depends person to person, but this is still a section of which the lips are elevated above. So keep that in mind whenever you are drawing a person. This part of the skin, it hooks around the nose. Keep that in mind. If you ever start to think to yourself, man, it kind of looks like JoJo in here. Yeah, there's a reason. JoJo's very, it's kind of built on fundamental stuff that gets super stylized, more so than most anime art styles. It's the front. It comes through like this. This identifies the front plane of the face. Cheeks. And this isn't perfect. This is not perfect. It just supplemented my explanation of all of that. Skull, it's not perfectly spherical. Keep that in mind as you look at photos of people. Jaw, Depends person to person. Sometimes people have round jaws, some people have barely any jaws. Between you and me, my jaw, me personally, the real Rev Rider, has a very, very thin jaw between my lips. So it goes something like this is roughly the shape of my face. I have a Chad jaw. Thanks for believing me. It's really not that long at all. Kind of short, squat. And that's my distinction as a person. So there's that. Is there anything else I need to cover? At the moment, can't really think so. Can't really think of anything else. Let me look through a couple things, and we'll wrap with a few studies of trying to practice the Loomis head. Let me get the. Okay. So I'm gonna be shuffling my papers, truing. Um, can anyone this entire stream has anyone been able to hear my keyboard clacks? Very curious. Type something right now. It's kind of my keyboard is thumping actually. Hold on. Only a little bit, you think? I see the microphone audio popping sometimes. So I think that's good. Has the voice quality been good this stream? I assume it's been in a state of pretty good. My eyes do light up when I type. Audio quality has stayed good. Good. I've been learning a lot about balancing audio in streams this entire workshop. I wish it was a little more consistent the entire way through, but uh, you know, it happens. Pretty new streamer. Do most things. Um, I would have liked us to. I would have liked to get this practice on drawing a skull planes, the planes of a head, but I can't find the specific skull from which you can practice from. It's a physical thing uh, that was provided in a classroom environment, so I don't know exactly how to search for it separate from that context, um, which is unfortunate. Um, I don't think I can provide that now, but if you go on to learn a bit more about the head, you go on to try and study it yourself, you'll probably be able to find it, especially if you poke around Proco's intended learning courses. I'm giving you a completely like different course of things. I'm doing it my own way. Um, finding finding out how to teach things that I think is relevant immediately within 6 weeks. You're gonna buy a skull, awesome. Make sure you don't buy it from the grave vendor. They might be kind of shady. Some of them might have been dug up straight from the dirt. You got to make sure you got it ethically for people who had their donor card when they died. Why did I go on that whole bit? Why did I commit to that whole bit? Anyway, um, let's practice the Loomis head. We'll do 5, and we'll give it about 5 minutes for you to figure that out. If 5 minutes is a little too long, it's gonna be like 25 minutes. I feel like that. I wish I could make the timer a little bit more. Uh, what's the word? Faces, expression. I kind of don't want. I just want neutral faces. Oh, good. I can set the amount of seconds. We'll set it to be. How much is 60 seconds? 180. Let's make it. What's 3.5? 2. 10. I'm thinking about how long this things are gonna be. Who's question marking? Why are you question marking me? How much is 60? No, no. How much is 3 minutes? I'm thinking. I'm breaking it down into seconds. 180 plus 30, 210. Let's go. That's kind of irregular. Let's just go for. Look, don't insult my inability to do math. I'm on the spot here. You can't. Don't judge me for doing the thing that I hate. We'll do 4 minutes instead. It's still a lot of time. Now we'll do 3 minutes. For these Loomis heads. I just want you to practice drawing the shapes that we discussed. So once again, I want you to practice drawing the cranium, the circle of the cranium. Find that side plane. Do this box and find the curve of the chin. You can do idealized version, or you can try and follow the proportions that you see in the photo. It's 3 minutes, so it's simultaneously a lot of time and not a lot of time. I want you to cite what you're looking. If 3 minutes is too short, I want people to tell me 3 minutes is too short if you couldn't finish your head in that amount of time. So let me quickly check my Discord, actually. Who's messaging me? Okay, anyway. Let's put the window back on. Let's shrink the window now. Let's wax on, let's wax off. 11. And I've set it to be neutral. This is faces and expression. It's going to be focusing on people. Finishing, I'm going to grab you. Quit making euphemisms in my chat. Anyway, let's get drawing. Once again, we're just going to be trying to find the idealized Loomis head. We're not drawing expression. We're not drawing hair. We're just drawing what we think the head looks like. So I'm going to start by trying to get my perfect circle. What I am doing is I am drawing a circle with my elbow, because I can't, we'll totally do it from my shoulder at the moment. And this will do. This person, we can see that their ear is invisible. I often cheat and draw the ear visible in a 3/4 view in my illustrations, but that's just not correct, and I know it. I'm going to cut off the side using an oval, which is about 2/3. If you need to cite the size of your cranium and figure out where 2/3 is, so you can transfer this length over to the middle of your head, take that time to do so. I kind of know where it is. She's tilting down a little bit. So the middle line will be tilted down as a result. Try to get your horizontal line a little like this. I'm talking as I go for anyone who doesn't fully get the process still, so I can comment entire way through. So there's our third. She's looking down, so the third is a little bit compressed, but you can still follow this sort of proportioning. We'll take that, we'll double it up to get the jaw. We can do this line. We follow this line all the way around, create a contour. That's the idealized hairline. Then we'll draw this sort of line coming towards the center for the chin. This one will also, pardon me, that was my work email. Goes all the way back. Put a vertical line relative to itself, relative to the angle. Cast. There's that. And then, in this case, her jaw, we can see, like, right here, her jaw sets kind of like this. So that would be the front plane there. And this is just the idealized Loomis head. We don't see the way the neck connects into face, or rather into the head itself. She actually has quite a bit of a wide jaw, so that's that. We don't have a lot of time to further extrapolate on that. Okay, all right, hold on. Uh, First of all, was that too fast for anyone? Second of all, line of action, I searched for neutral expressions. That's not a neutral expression. That's just a guy looking away. Work with me here. We're not going to do this one. Because even though it might be helpful, it's not the angle that I want us to practice right now, at least. Well, maybe we will actually, but I'll only spend like half as long on it. But if that wasn't too hard for anybody, we're gonna keep going. Yeah, okay, we'll do this one, I guess. We do kind of need to practice backsides as well. I can talk about how the back of the skull can be drawn, again, idealistically. So let's keep going. I will continue to comment on what I am doing. Once again, ghosting my cranium. Add ghosting my cranium. Good enough. I can fix this. So once again, I will try to find the side plane, and we can kind of tell where the circle needs to go. One, based on the ear. Two, based on where this, because this sort of line here, it's not perfect, but this sort of represents, especially here, right at the forehead, right? This is the side of the skull, right there. So the side of the skull, the side of the cranium, is actually a lot closer to the edge than we think it might be. So there's that. We can tell he's kind of level-headed. So this line actually will just go like this. We'll create another vertical line. The face is very, very far away. It is turned out. We are not looking at the face very much at all. I'm just putting a little contour here to help me understand that I'm looking at the back. It's curved around. I can draw the entry point for the neck here. We're in a bit of a twist. So normally the we would have been drawing the jaw, making this curve. Since it's not super visible, we'll instead focus on creating this line of the cheek. We can't even draw more of the landmarks we might be used to, or we might assume to be present, because it's just not visible. We don't see the front plane at all. We only see the side plane of the head. But we do see the back of the ear. In this case, I believe the ear itself kind of looks like this. It takes this kind of shape on. You can draw an ear if you'd like. If it helps you understand what you're looking at. See that on this person, because they're a bit heavier, they're a bit on the heavier side. This skin, this that connects to their neck a bit more. That's being polite. Not to say that we should be rude. Should not be rude about these sort of things. But that's just how it appears on him. So once again, if you had the time to draw something less ideal, that's what you can do. All right, head on. Apply directly to the forehead. Head on. Apply directly to the forehead. This person has a bit of a longer head. So if you want to, you can absolutely draw that slightly more idealized head. Or less idealized head, if you so prefer. Like this. It's not a perfect circle. About 2/3 is about like this. About that. That. Bing, bang, boom. our horizontal middle. Send another line across, bottom of the nose. You can do another line right here, forehead. It's a little bit off. Our proportions are a little bit off. So I will adjust just a bit more. And again, this guy has a really long head. This guy has a longer head than you think. Not a lot of time to figure out exactly the relations of his forehead to his nose to his jaw. But it's something like this, I believe. You can draw a curving line. He's got a bit more jaw than you might think, so you got to pay attention. What kind of angle do you need to draw the jaw at? How far out does it need to go before it enters the side of the head? If you look here, I'm a little bit tilted, then in regards to the head that I'm drawing, but it's about correct. We'll draw the ear slightly below slightly below there. His ears, those are funky looking ears. Sorry, sir. Sorry, I'm not judging you for your ears, but they're shaped kind of like that. One thing I forgot to mention that I hope most people are aware of by now when they draw, the eyes are about one eye length apart in ideal circumstances. So just keep that in mind every time you draw, whenever you draw, really. And eyes are also not symmetrical shapes. Eyes, there are parts that are more rounded than others. In this case, this person, I honestly think their nose comes down way lower than where it was. But no more time. No more time for that. These are just quick studies. We have the bigger guy from before that we can more appropriately draw, can more appropriately depict. Rough circle. Drawing these sort of things, they force you to practice your circle drawing. Or at the very least, cleaning up your circles. Once again, you don't have to actually draw what he's got. You can just practice drawing the idealized shape. This is not 2/3. This needs to be a little bit wider. He is turned slightly to the left. You can tell because his ear is the viewer right ear is a little blocked off. So this plane goes in like that a bit. We might actually be seeing something like this. We'll do this. We'll do that. 1, 2, 3. Thereabouts. We'll do this. Idealized jaw size. And we'll find the side plane. It's one of these types where it's a bit wider than that. But there's the side plane. There's the front plane. Here, this ear is cut off. It's hiding behind there. Take a closer look. You can see just how those sides of the head interact. And this is also another case of you might think this guy has a boxier head than he actually does. There's volume. There is definitely volume there. So just keep that in mind as you draw heads. More to it than that. Neck. This might be actually a little bit wider if you were drawing it legit, but Once again, expressions, they have gesture to them. I'll very, very quickly show what I'm talking about once we do our next head. But for the purposes of the workshop, this is about as far as we'll cover. We got this guy again. Awesome. Actually, he's holding a prop up and he's obscuring part of his face. We'll go to the next one. Okay, good. No, this is good. This is good. I want you to hit me with that perspective. Practice that perspective of the chin. And show me that you know to tilt the ear in response to where things ought to be. So we're looking directly up at this person. We can still find sides of the cranium. The sides of the cranium right there. In this case, our horizontal line is about. The brow line is about here. Brow line is about here. Very close. The forehead is like right there. We can barely see the hairline at this stage. So this is harder. It's a lot harder to tell where things need to be, but you can still line things up in perspective and foreshortening. And then this is pointed outwards just a bit, side of the head. And our thirding method falls apart just a bit. We can take roughly this length, and I think we can transfer it down at least once more to create this for where the jaw should be. And I might be a little bit off. I might still be a little bit off on it all, but it's intriguing, still intriguing to me. Remember, we get this sort of hill shape when we draw the jaw, wrapping around to create the chin. Always a very, very important shape that gets skimped on by a lot of people, including myself, who just don't do it enough. Always stuck drawing someone looking at 3/4 perspective, and they're not really looking in more dramatic angles. Because you want a character. That's the thing. You want a character to be looking at the audience. Having a character look up like this is unnatural for most compositions, most images that you'll want to draw. But it's still important to practice these sort of things, especially when you want to draw and do more things, especially if you're the type of person like, I want to draw action, I want to draw comics, I want to draw in just more interesting angles than just straight on, or having someone directly face the camera. Sometimes we should be drawing extras, and they will be something they might look like this. They might be looking good. I'll keep going just a little bit longer. I just want to draw the dimensionality present through here. You can see there's the lips. They're following the contour of the face. And they are stick out. Different parts of the body will be receding. And my middle plane was actually a little bit off. Rather, this plane was a little bit off. Bottom of the nose is more accurately like here. Plane it makes like this. It's really long. You cannot see the bridge of the nose. Do not think for a second that you can see the bridge of the nose. You cannot. what's actually going on here is that I drew the eyebrow ridge too high, far too high. I drew this whole thing a little too rounded. It's one of those things you gotta observe, uh, and just readjust based on what you see. The brow ridge goes in towards the nasal bone, like this. So that's why you see it kind of work like this. Just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind when you draw faces. I just wanted to capture a little bit of the dimensionality here. Did this practice help anyone? Biggest question of the hour. Do you think it helped you? Ow. Please answer me, chat. Do you think this helped you, or yes or no? I need the live feedback. We're done. We're done with this drawing. We're done with the figure drawing. You were sketching, but yes, good. Good. And I'm just gonna quickly demonstrate using some people. Faces have gesture. Faces also have gesture. Even if you draw this expressions, like what is a smile? But yeah, my tablet's starting to lag. What is a smile but a really wide line of action? Eyebrows especially, man, my lag has never lasted that long. What are eyebrows if not extreme lines of action, you know? Here, I'll do another one. Why are you trying not to laugh? Disrespectful. But especially when you're drawing more stylized, like cartoony expressions, lines of action are a lot more apparent on there. But that's where exaggeration comes into play. It's different. Maybe the realistic people aren't exactly the place to be trying to figure that out. Here's a guy. Oh my god, my tablet. My tablet is lagging so bad. I'm just doing demonstration. You don't have to draw with me. I just wanted to demonstrate these aspects that I believe are important to take away. Like eyebrows. That's Chester. This guy's got like this going on. What are eyebrows if not lines of action? What are the more subtle features of the face if not more lines of action? Creases of your eyebrows, your eyelids, creases your mouth makes as you grimace, the way nostrils flare when you're shocked, so on and so forth. The body is host to a lot of different gestures, and that includes the face. So, that will do it for the lecture. That'll do it for what I plan to talk about. The Loomis head method is not perfect, but I do honestly believe in it. I do honestly believe in this being a valuable tool to learn proportion with. So let's get into just assigning the homework, and then I'll cut everyone free. Leave. Um, but if you want to keep practicing the Loomis head method, just keep doing these same practices. I know the homework is just super predictable at this point. Go practice the same exact thing we've been doing, but for like 30 minutes of your own time. It's a purpose. Practice the Loomis head method. On let's do on 10 different heads. You do not need to draw the head accurately, but you can challenge yourself to. Is there a but there? You do not need to draw the head accurately, though you can challenge yourself to. Nah, that's about it. That's really all I want you to do. I want you to get used to seeing proportion in this way. And I want you to practice seeing proportion, making proportion, doing all of that. Really, doing the Loomis head method, finding these averages, committing to an average. Actually, yeah, I'll just do a draw an average Loomis head yourself following the proportioning methods. That's for your use. I want you to do that. And the second part is just the practice. 1, 2. Let's space it out actually. All right. Change today's lesson. For now, homework. Just leave it there. All right. That is the stream. Okay, my tablet's throwing a fit on myself for some reason. Yeah, I should have seen that coming. All right. That will do it. That'll do it for the stream. That'll do it for the work. Go try these things. Thank you for joining me today on yet another stream. Follow the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/rivwriterart. I think it's just twitch.tv/rivwriter. Which one is it again? Twitch.tv/rivwriter. Follow me here. If you want to get more of me live, we have 2 more sessions that we'll be doing. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@rivwriterarts. For the VODs, they will be marked for each segment that we go through. I will provide links to the videos used in the video, as well as links to other videos that I believe are helpful. Hold on. One more. Before I go to the next part. Copy that. You can join the Discord. It's not a Discord community. It's a ping Discord. It's purely just so you know when I go live. You don't want to, if you're just not on Twitch that time, you can see when more of my art goes up. And you have a resource. It's basically a resource library for everything related to this workshop and anything else that'll come up over time. Feel free to follow me on my socials. There's Bisky, there's Tumblr. Twitter has been excommunicated, but I still post there. It's RivUxArt. You'll find it if you go to rivwriter.card.co, which is where my commission information is, where all my general bios, all the links to different social medias, is properly housed. Next week will be the final wrap up on everything we do. We're going to do a lot of figure drawing on the first session of the week. I'll discuss anything left over relevant to that. I'll take any final questions about heads at that time. And then on the last session, we'll be covering drawing from imagination, what this whole workshop was supposed to help build us up to. So stay tuned in for that. Thank you once again for joining me. I hope to see you again next time. Thank you for coming.